What do pregnant ladies, trains, paint and sip, and Ethiopian food have in common? As always, another episode of Insecure. Hey everyone, this is D, Movieman, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with another episode of Insecure, Season 4, Episode 6, Lowkey Done. This episode was directed by Lacey Duke. She's previously directed for Queen Sugar, and she's also directed music videos for Summer Walker, H.E.R, and Ari Lennox, all artists I love and enjoy very, very much. So the theme of this episode, I thought, had to do more with really being over a lot of things, trying to push through, trying to get over, but just really being like done. Like I'm over it, things aren't working, I'm just kind of in a, I'm done, you know, which I can relate to because I've had a lot of those times and spaces and thoughts in my life. However, we do start off with Issa, and she definitely is done. She is in her bed, she is really thinking over this argument that she just had with Molly. She's replaying the argument back, all the things that Molly said about her being a user and all these things, and she's just not really dealing with it well. And that's the sucky part about arguments like that. You're thinking about what was said, you're thinking about what you said, what you didn't say, what you shoulda, coulda, woulda said. So yeah, it's not really a good situation to be in. It's kind of a sucky thing to go through. But on a brighter note, she is getting positive feedback on the block party. People enjoyed it, they thought it was great. We need more events like this. And then she's also getting calls and messages from Kelly, from her brother. And then we have our girl Shannon on the scene, who apparently has started her YouTube channel. And she's here with a very special message. Tonight in South LA, Negroes gathered for fried chicken, cocoa butter, and violence. And I'm like, man, first of all, man, you're not even a real reporter. Like, this is what we putting out about the block party? Okay. Anyway, she's getting hit up by Sequoia, by her brother, by Kelly. Kelly obviously wants to discuss this whole Molly situation, but Issa ain't got time for that. This just happened. And so she talks to good old Mirror Issa. And Mirror Issa is basically saying, you need to take some time for yourself. Don't worry about her. Stop trying to reach out to her all the time because she was in the wrong also. She can reach out to you. So worry about yourself. Take some time out. It's Self-Care Sunday. We're going to kick back and relax. And then we see her doing this deep clean on her apartment, cleaning out the refrigerator, cleaning out the living room, everything. And I'll be honest, cleaning is not really fun, but it can really put you in a positive space. So it definitely falls under self-care because once it's all over and everything is just clean and organized, you feel like you can kind of breathe again. So I definitely related to that. She has a quick little conversation with Nathan. He basically checked in to see how she was doing, and she doesn't really like how this whole thing went down with Molly, and she kind of hesitates. She's like, you know, I appreciate your help, but I don't really want you to think I used you. And he was like, no, you didn't use me. I helped you because I wanted to help. And see, you know, that's the main thing that Molly said the last time they were around each other. So it's kind of creating some self-doubt in her head. So she's having to kind of disengage from that because now she's starting to really it's starting to really get to her. And we also see Issa attempt to help this pregnant woman in the grocery store. She's having, you know, some trouble paying for her items. And Issa says, oh, well, come on, I can help you out. She's wanting to put out some, you know, some good energy. Well, the total comes to $159.99, which is some expensive energy. So she's kind of like, oh, okay. And then, of course, she tries to swipe her card. Don't go through the first time. She tries it again. And then the pregnant lady's like, you know what? Ooh, this just got sad. Today, you've given me the gift of perspective. And then she walks away. So I'm guessing she's just kind of like, well, you know what? I guess other people out here struggling. Let me go figure things out. And then the cashier, you know, so Issa's just kind of like, oh, you know, well, she didn't need all that stuff anyway. And the cashier is just standing there like, I really don't get paid enough for this. And then we also see Issa try and help out this older gentleman who just missed the bus. His name is George, and he doesn't do lifts or boobers. Like, no, I just want to help you out. I saw that you missed the bus. I just want to, you know, give you a ride to wherever you're trying to go. And he's like, okay. Well, you know, I don't hit women, but I will slap them if I have to. And then we see Mirror Issa like, that's gonna be you. But you know, Issa's trying to put out some good energy still, so she gives him a ride. And George is doing your typical grumpy old man act. It's too cold, it's too hot. Oh, do you have a man? Oh, you one of them feminazis. Okay, we equal. Like, yeah. And I know Issa's really regretting letting this man into her car. And they're driving straight down La Brea because George ain't trying to give her his information for her to put in GPS so the government can find out. Like, we just gonna go straight down La Brea. And he asks her, how's your day going? And they're talking. He's like, watch out. He's like, oh, whoa. He's like, oh no, like in life, you gotta watch out. It's a lot going on in this car right now. They pass by this old nightclub. He's talking about how back in the day, he and his friends used to kick it there. And they used to run a lot of trains over there. He ain't talking about Amtrak. I'm like, oh, sir, this is too much information. Okay, like we barely know each other. You're telling me way too much about yourself. But he also says something that Issa has to think about. And it's the fact that their friendships kind of broke up, drugs, prison, all these different things. And he felt like he should have seen the signs coming because there's always a sign when things like that are going to happen. Eventually, she drops George off and he thanks Ice for the ride. She drives off and then we see George walk up to the door and then a man comes out and he's like, Dad? I'm like, oh. So did George go to the corner store for some milk and then he never came back? So we see Issa head over to a paint and sip and I realized that a song called Art Hose is playing in the background. I was just like, okay, music team. And she sits down and she meets these other three women named Dina, Rahel, and Kenzie. They're from DC and they are having a bachelorette outing because Dina's going to be getting married the next day. So they're just hanging out, chillaxing, having a good time. And even though she just met them, it seems like Issa is really connecting, kind of vibing with them a little bit. Side note, I was so happy to see that Dina was being played by none other than Kyla Pratt. If you are a 90s kid, much like myself, then there's no way you don't know who Kyla Pratt is because she definitely was an integral part of my childhood. I think the first thing I ever saw her in was Dr. Dolittle. She was in Love and Basketball. She was Brianna in One-on-One. She was the voice of Penny Proud on The Proud Family. She was in countless 90s sitcoms. She's really done so much and she's such an underrated actress and I was really happy to see her here. So meanwhile, Kelly is still calling and texting Issa. Issa knows what it's about. It's like, look, don't be bothering me. I don't want to talk about that. She can't deal with that right now. The paint and sip ends and Issa's about to head home. And the girls come out and they're like, oh, we had a good time hanging out with you. And I'm like, oh, well, we were going to go to a bar around the corner. You want to come hang with us? And at first she's kind of like, well, and then she sees Mary Issa, of course, like, so she's like, okay, fine. We can go hang out. All right, so Issa and the ladies, they're sitting at this nice restaurant, still chopping it up, having a good time. Dina mentions that her fiance proposed to her, passed out with an empty pill bottle. And then when she was about to call 911, he woke up and said, I'm addicted to you. Will you marry me? Very scary proposal, but all right. And so they're talking some more and they ask Issa, well, what do you do? What you got going on? I basically create events and I support local artists and businesses in South LA. And she thinks about it and she's like, well, I guess you could call me a cultural curator. And they're just like, oh, that is bomb. That's dope. Really gassing her up, hyping her up. And and it feels good. She doesn't really know these girls, but they really seem to admire her and really seem to think what she does is really, really cool. They seem to be supporting her, whereas with Molly, it just seemed like the support was never there. So I thought that was really interesting. So Kenzie decides she's gonna go to the restroom and Issa decides to head on with her. And as they're in the stalls, Kenzie is asking her, where are the good men at? What's going on? And so Issa is breaking it down by all these areas in California. All the hood dudes below the 10, all the artsy and fartsy guys, Los Felix or Silver Lake, all the rich guys at Ladera, the married guys here, and these guys here. She's going down the list, right? And then she stops and she asks, oh, well, what kind of guys were you actually looking for? Silence. Are you all right? And so she, she looks down, nobody's there. As soon as I saw that, I was like, no, I know good and well. And so Issa runs out. The girls are completely gone. Nobody's at the table. And then she sees this sheet that says Bachelorette Scavenger Hunt. And the two of the boxes say befriend a stranger and dine and dash. This whole time Issa's just been vibing, having a good time, connecting, thinking she might have some new friends. And they were scamming her, playing her the whole time. So yeah, well, Issa ain't taking that lying down. So the next thing we see is her flying down the street in her car, looking for these girls, like looking, trying to figure out where they are. All of a sudden, she sees them. She hops out the car. She, boom, smashes the painting over Kenzie's head. And she's just laughing like, what you gotta say now? Huh? Welcome to LA. And it happened so fast, I didn't have time to really process whether this was a dream or not. And of course, it was a dream. This is Issa we're talking about. And so it flashes back and she's sitting in her car and she's staring at some girls who look like Dina, Kenzie, and Rahel, but are not. And people are actually kind of got confused, like, oh, well, why didn't she run after them? Because it wasn't actually them. And the design team actually did a good job of making them look just like the other girls. The one girl had like this short bob and the jean jacket, and the other girl had like the curly hair. The other girl had on black and had straight hair. So they looked just like them, but they weren't. So she was thinking she had found them, and she actually hadn't. So very kind of a downer moment. And so she kind of doesn't really know what to do now. Seems like she's really been trying to make the most of her day and try to put out positive energy, but she's just getting trashed. Like she's gotten nothing back, and she feels worse than when she started the day. So she picks up her phone and she calls someone, and she's like, can I just come over? I really need to talk. I know somewhere people were thinking like, Daniel, Nathan, Lawrence? No, of course not. This is the kind of moment where you can only go one place. And where is that place? To Mom's house. And of course, we see Lila, Issa's mom, played by Wendy Raquel Robinson, as I've mentioned before. So they're talking, and her mom was like, I'm glad you did your little block party, but I didn't get an invite. Mom, you said you don't like being around crowds of black people. She's like, I don't like being around crowded anything. It makes me itch. And I hollered because I'm like, my mom is the exact same way. We can be out and about, but after a while, if there's too many people, swarming around, she's just like, ugh, go away, get away. We got to go home. I got to get out of here. She said it's like ants swarming around her. She's just like, she can't take it. And so they're still talking, and the mom asks her if she wants some gumbo, and Issa's like, no, I'm good. And so the mom kind of looks at her for a second, and she's just like, come here. And Issa's like, what? She's like, she goes over and she hugs her mom. And at first it's kind of like, oh, whatever. And then she really just breaks down. And I'm telling you, like, no one can do that like a mom or even a grandmother, but it's just nothing like a hug from your mother. Like, there's nothing like it. And I can definitely relate because there have been times I've been so emotionally overtaxed, so tormented, so tired, so angry, so stressed, so frustrated. And my mom would just walk up and it's just like, hey, we're okay. We're good. And I don't know what it is. It's almost like that touch from your mom opens up like this part of yourself, and it's just kind of like, you know what? We don't have to stress about anything. We don't have to worry. Just receive this love. You know what I'm saying? And there's nothing like a mother's love. Nothing like it. So I love that they show that, because it doesn't matter what you go through. When your mom gives you a hug, it's just like you're right where you need to be. And so they're sitting down on the couch and they're having a conversation. And Issa really doesn't know what direction her life is going in. She doesn't know what to do next. She doesn't have any real direction. She's 30 and she looks at her mom and she's like, you were married. You had a house. You had 2 kids. And her mom was like, well, I didn't plan on having y'all. And she's like, what? Yeah, like I didn't even think I could have kids. Like I didn't plan for you guys to be here. But, I made it work. I just, I sucked it up and I dealt with it. And both of you ended up being the 2 biggest blessings in my life. And I definitely understand this myself, because I think we can look at parents and think that they have all the answers and that they are superhuman sometimes, the way they just move through life and they just make it work. But ultimately, they're just people. And I think when you're, 15, 10, 5, really young, 30 seems so far away. And it's like, okay, I'm going to have my stuff together at this age. And it's like, no. There is no rule book to life. And there's definitely not a rule book to parenting. So even though it looked all good on the outside, her mom really had to make the most of the situation she was in and do her best to really push and do the best she could for her family. And I definitely feel the same way about my mother. Like I've always admired the way my mom has pushed herself and has always succeeded and always has kept her head above water. But even within that, just knowing that she was just a person trying to take care of her children, trying to just survive, just trying to do the best she could. And I think it's also great to, even though we definitely idolize our parents and we admire our parents, I think sometimes mentally we have to take them off the pedestal and realize that they just are people too, and that they did the best they could and they're still trying to do the best they can even now. And whether that's making mistakes along the way or, struggling or not always doing the right thing, they're just people. And they're not perfect, but they are our parents. And if you just have a parent that really cares for your well-being, loves you, and wants to see you do well, then you're doing just fine. So yeah, I really loved this. I loved this conversation because it was so relatable, so honest, so transparent, and I thought that was really awesome. And there was even a point where Issa, as far as her mom, she thought that her mom saw her as someone who was kind of all over the place, had her hands in too many pots, and her mom was like, "No, I was speaking to the fact that there were so many things you knew how to do and that you were good at. I admire that. Not everybody can do that, and so." And so she really is like, you admire me? It's something about that parental positive reinforcement that just really, makes you just feel so good on the inside. And Issa's mom also mentions that, me and Stanley are having a good time, but we ain't getting married because I ain't trying to be tied legally to them twins. She ain't fooling with them twins. I'm like, what's up with these twins? Amal ain't feeling them. Issa ain't feeling them. The mom ain't feeling them. I'm like, these must not be T and Tamara twins. It must be something real off because ain't nobody checking for them. Issa finally gets in touch with Kelly. And basically, in a nutshell, Kelly just wants them to get over this whole not talking situation because when she and Tiffany were going through it, they let that sit for a really long time and they almost didn't come back from it. And I definitely understand that. I've had situations with friends where they just did a couple of things that really not only hurt me, but it really kind of blew me like, whoa, did you really do that? And I'll be honest, I just kind of like mentally just blocked them out. I was just like, no, I'm not calling you. I'm not texting you. So even though they would call and they would text and all that, I would just be like, silence, like radio silence, which in retrospect was not a good thing, but I was hurt and I was very angry and I was very frustrated. So I was just like, I don't want to feel this and I don't want to think about you and feel this. So I just kind of blocked them out. But Kelly is right that it's not a good thing to do, but it's so new, this situation. This is still too soon, I think, after that big blowout for them to start talking again. So Issa's kind of like, I guess, we'll see. But also Issa's tired of being the person to always reach out and fix things. And Kelly's like, okay, well, I get that, but if neither one of you decides to fix it, then y'all just not gonna be friends anymore? Issa doesn't really have an answer for that, but we'll just have to see what happens. And so Issa goes home, she walks in, her house is completely clean, and she's like I told you, like cleaning is not fun, but when you get to come home and just everything is where it should be in order, like it is a great feeling. That is definitely self-care, I'm telling you. People may not agree, but that is self-care for me because it puts me in such a positive mental headspace. And so Issa gets on her computer and she starts responding to all the attendees' comments. People are asking, about the different vendors, about the different artists. And then one person asks, hey, so when can we see more of this? And she's like, coming soon. So, and I love that because it's like she's really starting to figure things out and she's finding her place creatively, professionally, in her career and all that. So I thought that was really cool. And of course, she is smoking weed, and smoking weed equals the munchies. So she orders some Ethiopian food and she pulls up and she's about to walk right into the restaurant. She walks up to the door and who does she see but Molly? Molly's just sitting there with not a care in the world on her phone, sitting at the little bar area. And Issa hesitates and she's really wondering if she should go in or not. And she kind of looks over in her reflection, but Mary Issa isn't there. And I kind of took that to mean like, look, you're just gonna have to make the decision. You can't think about it, you can't second guess, like either you're gonna do it or you're not. And so Issa takes another second and she turns around and she walks back to her car and drives off. Wow. I can't really be mad. In my mind, I really didn't see her going in. And like I said, it's too soon. I still have feelings about what's just happened. So yeah, I totally got why she left. However, I would have been mad about not getting my food. Like, I would have been a little salty about not getting my food, but I totally got why she left. So yeah, so that wraps up Lowkey Done. This was an interesting episode because a lot of it was focused just on Issa. We didn't see a lot of the other characters that we usually see because it was really from Issa's perspective. And so that meant we really didn't see a lot of the other people that we would normally see in the course of the episode. Barely. We only saw a little bit of Molly at the end. We saw a little bit of Kelly, and that was pretty much it. A lot of it was just her having to deal and get over a lot of things emotionally. So I know for some people it wasn't as like, funny and in your face and everything, but I related to having those days where you're really trying to make things work and be in a positive space and put out good vibes, and it just feels like, this ain't working. I'm so done. I'm so over this. Like, what's the point of trying to, push to be in a positive space and push to make things work and I'm not getting anything back. So I really enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the perspective. I enjoyed just kind of the laid back feel of this episode. Not a whole lot going on, but just relating to getting through life and working through things and figuring your life out and taking the steps to get in a better space in your life and figuring things out creatively, professionally, holistically in your life. Definitely related to all that because I am 30 as well and I'm still figuring those things out. But I have hope that those things are going to work out, and I continue to cultivate a positive, encouraged mindset because I believe that if I continue to be prayerful, that I can continue to have faith and continue to put out positivity, whether it's reciprocated or not. I feel like that's more important. I feel like that will definitely get me to where I'm trying to go. And I trust that that will happen and that it will come forth in due season. So that's my word on today. Hallelujah. So once again, this is D, Movieman, signing off, and I'll see you at the movies.